Hello and welcome. My name is Nick Bublitz, and I'm the producer in residence here at Orlando Shakes. And welcome to our last installment of Meet the Playwrights, a weekly spotlight series on each playwright showcased in PlayFest 2020. This year is a whole new experience as PlayFest makes a switch to a virtual platform over the span of 6 weeks, with a live reading occurring every week from October 3rd and finishing this Saturday, November 7th. This week, I'm joined by Deneen Reynolds-Knott, who is the last playwright showcased in our virtual new play festival with her play, Flashes and Floaters. But before we get to that, a big thank you to our presenting sponsors. For the second year, the Basil Keeney family joined City Beverages in presenting PlayFest 2020. What's so special about PlayFest is that these new plays are still in development, so during our rehearsal process, playwrights are able to hear their words aloud and actually continue adding to their process, making cuts, adding scenes, and continuing to grow and explore. And you, as the audience member, get to be a part of this process. After each reading, there will be a live Q&A with the playwright and director where the audience can ask questions, provide feedback about the play directly to the playwright as they continue on their own creative journey. And throughout this, we'd love to feature your questions, so be sure to leave questions for Deneen in the comments. In Deneen's drama, Flashes and Floaters, between juggling a newborn and her father's vision loss, Rachel joins forces with colleagues to form a workers' cooperative in the face of overwhelming odds. Hi, Deneen. Welcome.
Thank you, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Taking it by day, minute by minute. Actually, it seems.
What would you say?
I said taking it minute by minute. Actually, it seems.
Yeah, it's been a good week. So thank you so much for joining us. Where are you calling in from today?
Brooklyn, New York.
Oh yeah, Brooklyn. Well, perfect. So let's get the ball rolling on this, and I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been writing plays?
I've been writing plays for about 5 years. I was a theater geek in high school, and then I fell in love with film and attended film school. And as I was screenwriting and creating a web series with a good friend of mine who's a playwright, he suggested, why don't you write a play? And I was like, no, I'm not going to write a play. And then I wrote a play, and suddenly I'm a playwright. And that's basically how it happened.
Well, and you are also a PlayFest alum. You've been here before, right?
Yes.
Where did we see you last at PlayFest?
I believe it was 2017. I was there with my play Baton.
Perfect. Well, welcome back. This week is the last week of PlayFest, and what a way to finish the week. What a way to finish the event.
Yes.
So let's talk about what is the overall process for the creation of this play been like for you?
I started writing the play in around 2018. I was writing it while in residence with the Liberation Theater Company. It was a 10-month program. So I was bringing in 10 pages every week and getting great feedback from other Black playwrights. And then we even had a midpoint reading so I could hear the first act. And then we went on a retreat together, and that's where I finished the play. I was like in a really beautiful cabin with like a snowy day writing.
A relaxing place to write.
Yes, definitely.
That's great. Well, let's dive into the world of the play. I have some questions, and if anyone watching has questions, be sure to include them in the comment section. So without giving anything away, spoiler-wise, can you talk a little bit about Flashes and Floaters, the who, what, and where? Again, with no spoilers. We want people to come and see.
Sure. So Rochelle needs to solve a puzzle. She is expecting her first child, and she also has a growing set of caregiving responsibilities for her father, who has a progressive vision loss. And she also works full time. So she hatches a plan with coworkers to start a workers' cooperative together, their own business, but it's a model where they can use their work to benefit the individual, the members of that cooperative. And she loves to create stationery, and that is something that she and her cohort want to pursue.
puzzles. You mentioned that before when we first met at the event at the beginning.
Yeah.
How has this puzzle been for you, kind of creating it and solving it at the same time?
It's really challenging actually because I'm writing a play about a woman that has a lot going on. How do I write a play about a woman that has a lot going on without the play seeming like it just has a lot going on? So I think I'm having the same balance challenges, or that I've had them in the process of writing this play that I'm sure Rochelle has living it. So that's been fun to try to figure that out, definitely, because I do think it's really important to portray this woman that has so many responsibilities at the same time, but without the play becoming weighted down by it. And so that's been a goal of this week for sure.
It's like definitely an art imitating life type, and life imitating art almost.
I think that's a constant question. It's like even when people want to explore trauma, it's like how do I explore trauma without actually traumatizing people? It's constantly a question for writers of how do we balance that out?
And to find that three dimensionality in a truthful and compassionate way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. Um, well, for everyone watching right now, Deneen and the rest of the cast and the director and everyone involved with Flashes and Floater, they're currently in rehearsal. So, Deneen, how have rehearsals been going so far? And are there any interesting discoveries you've been making as you hear the actors read the script aloud?
So we've had one rehearsal because yesterday we took the day for election day. But that one rehearsal was great. I was able to listen to the play, and there's something really about Zoom that the clutter rises. You really can recognize the clutter and what doesn't necessarily need to be there. And also, I switched two scenes. So I swapped two scenes, the order. And so that was helpful too. And again, just really listening and taking my cues from the actors and understanding like, oh, this can be a simpler line, or this line feels too convoluted. I noticed that an actor tripped over it. It's probably me. I should go back and look at it. So having those moments like, maybe that line is too hard to say.
Yeah, there's almost and we've done 6 of these now, but there's almost this growing sense of awareness that we have to, working on live readings, we have to kind of sift through in this virtual capacity. It kind of strengthens the heart of the script in a way. You kind of see through that virtual space and are going, okay, what's the story?
There's really nowhere to hide. There's no, so yeah.
Which is, I'm sure it is a very revealing process in a way.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's interesting. That's what PlayFest is all about. And I trust that you're getting all of this so far, even with your one day of rehearsal.
Oh yeah. I mean, I tossed away like 5 pages after the first read. Just pruning and kind of surgically taking lines out here and there.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, so this is obviously a new play festival. It's not your first one with Orlando Shakes. And we have a question from Lexi. I was going a different way, but it's all good now. It happens. Which character relationship have you enjoyed exploring the most in this work?
Oh, that's really interesting. I think I really enjoyed Ivy and Miriam, who are Rochelle's coworkers. And I've been exploring their relationship a lot because I'm thinking about the different ways that they think about work, the different ways that they value themselves as workers, and how they deal with that growing tension when you realize like, oh, we're thinking about this completely differently. And so I have had a lot of fun exploring their relationship.
I like that question. Thank you for that question, Lexi. We have another question from Orlando Shakes themselves. What has been the biggest development in your script since you began working on it?
I think the biggest development is when I first wrote the script, because as I said, I started in 2018, I placed the script in the near future. Can you predict what the near future is going to look like? Neither can I.
So
I'm in this really weird spot now because I said the near future. So something I realized is, with the financial crash in 2008, people in finance, it's kind of like before the crash, after the crash. Well, Rochelle and her coworkers work in a catering facility. So for anyone in a restaurant or catering world, it's before COVID, after COVID. So I had to make a choice. And so I chose to place the play after COVID. And I was hoping to place it, 2 or 3 years after a full reopening. So it's not like a topic that everyone's talking about, but there's definitely a sense of there was this point where things were really shut down and we were not working, right. And what that meant. And that actually brought out a couple of different layers in the play and in the relationships between Rochelle and her coworkers that were quite fascinating.
Right. And I'm interested in how has that dramaturgical work been shaped and crafted as you've been making those insertions?
How do you mean? I'm sorry.
How have you begun to shape the piece to fit that the COVID insertion of the near future? How has that been for you?
What I was really thinking about was making it, really having it be subtle. I was in New York during 9/11, and that it's such a huge, scary event, of course, and terrifying and all of that, and traumatizing for so many people. But 2 or 3 years after, it comes up, but we're not talking about it all the time. So I was just very aware of what are the moments in which this might be brought up, and what are the moments where it's not really going to come up. And I think usually if it does, it's because they're talking about they're talking about the catering facility and how it's doing, and how it's struggling, and connecting it perhaps to that time where there was a shutdown.
Interesting. We have another question from Lexi. What inspired Flashes and Floaters?
With all my plays, I tend to be inspired by multiple things at once. So I was inspired by my own experience as what they call a sandwich mom. So when my boys were younger, my father had a stroke and he was dealing with vision loss and other ailments as well. And so I had that experience of trying to juggle both. And, my sister and I we had each other to help, but it was very challenging. And it's very challenging for many people in this country when they find themselves having caregiving responsibilities. I also just have some relationship with the cooperative movement and the solidarity economy movement. And I just find that movement very interesting. And I've met a lot of people who belong to workers' cooperatives, and, everyone is the boss and you all own it together. And it sounds really cool, but it's also very fraught and it's, making a decision as a team for everything. There's a lot of drama there. Let's just say that.
I can't think off the top of my head a play that deals directly with co-ops like this in such a real and interesting manner.
I've been very fortunate to know people who have either tried to build workers cooperatives and weren't successful because of whatever reasons, or are currently in very successful workers cooperatives, and just hearing their day to day and what that means. And I think it's such a fascinating thing. And sometimes people hear about it and they're like, that sounds like utopia, but there's so much work and so much negotiation and democracy, really. It's because it's a democratic workplace. And so how many of us have really demonstrated democracy in our workplaces? It's a fascinating sector.
Interesting. I'm very excited to see this. This is obviously your second time at PlayFest, and it's a new play festival. It means that your script is still in development. What are you hoping to get out of this week? What are you getting out of this week as you kind of make adjustments to this play?
Well, so far, I think I have 20 less pages than when I began, which is very exciting for me, because I was hoping to really sharpen the play, and find those whatever moments were kind of rising as clutter, find intention in those moments and make them work or toss them out. So I am hoping to continue to do that. And I'm just excited to keep working with Claire, who's amazing, Kristen, who's wonderful. The cast is really so present and generous. And so I'm excited to keep working with them.
We're looking forward to seeing this on Saturday. I'm very excited. But that's all the time we have for questions today. And I know you have to get back to rehearsal.
So I do.
Thank you so much for joining us, Deneen. We want you to soak up all of the success of this and continue working along the way to craft this amazing play further. Don't forget to purchase your tickets to Flashers and Floaters this Saturday, November 7th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets, starting at $10, can be purchased at orlandoshakes.org. This is our final Meet the Playwright Facebook Live event of PlayFest 2020. And we're so grateful to everyone who joined us over the course of this festival this year. Be sure to join us for our next virtual offering, The Trial of Ebenezer Scrooge. Both silly and sweet, this heartwarming holiday comedy runs December 10th to December 20th, 2020. Get your tickets now. And a big thanks to the Basil Keeney family as they join City Beverages in presenting PlayFest 2020, and a huge thank you to our PlayFest patrons. I'm Nick Bublitz. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.